and give us their
has exceeded my expectations.
My favorite part about
We just thought
Welcome to another episode of We Are Amada. I'm excited for this. I've got here with me Kelli Staab and Cesar Pumariega, the owners of Amada Senior Care in Florida. Not all of Florida. Yet,
just the villages.
Just the villages. And listen, I'm excited because you guys have you have the most unique origin story of Amada Senior Care. Really, you do. I don't think it's happened since. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. And so I figured we could start there. And Kelli is not in a cathedral, everybody. Kelli, if you are listening to this, if you're on video, if you're on audio, you don't see this, but Kelli is in the middle of building her house.
Yes, I am. And it has been a journey.
That is, and you've been building since when?
Well, we sold our house and moved into our fifth wheel in October 26th of 2023. And we didn't break ground on our house until September 2024.
That is really cool. You are brave. You are very brave.
Three teenagers, two dogs,
Correct.
and a fireman, all in one camper.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
And two dogs.
That is,
I said two dogs.
and
Okay.
two dogs. Yeah. Okay, so Kelli, I'd love for you to launch us with how you two came together. Tell us that story.
She adopted me when I was a young kid,
She adopted you as
when I was a baby.
Yeah.
a poor Cuban
Yeah.
boy.
I swam over to Sunny Beach, pulled me out.
Pulled them out.
And
I
then
said,
here we are.
come on this journey with me. Long story short, I was in cardiac for about 13 years, grew the ladder there and had a calling to do something more with my clinical career and helping our community. And so I happened to run into a friend of mine who was also in cardiac, but Marissa and Chad Purvis. And they actually are the ones that introduced me to Amada. And so I did a bunch of research and I just read all about you guys. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I prayed on it. And I was like, okay, I think I really want to do this. And so initially I knocked on every bank's door to see if they would allow me the opportunity. But it was a no. And then Marissa happened to come in connection with Cesar. And and months had gone by between Marissa and I's first conversation and then her putting me in contact with Cesar. And we met at a Starbucks in September, and it was a love at first sight. I said the stars aligned, all of our core values aligned. We come from different professional backgrounds, but I feel like our hearts were in the same place for wanting to do more with our knowledge and how our career paths started out. And it's been one heck of a journey.
No kidding. One heck of a journey. So Cesar, then bring up the other part of the story. How do Chad and Marissa connect you with Kelli?
I'm a pharmacist by trade, and I used to have my own pharmacy in Miami, and then left that, came to Florida, to Central Florida, where I was a district manager for a chain, and then always wanted back to my own business, have my own business. That's where my heart was. My parents, my grandparents were all entrepreneurs. And they told me, look, you're never going to be paid what you're worth if you're working for someone else. My father was actually upset at me that I took a job with someone. So
He was?
yes.
No way.
And so I was always looking to do something. I saw the exponential growth in the senior market, and I wanted to get into it. Looked at several other companies, figured out Amada, everything looked better with the Amada system. There was an ad, I forgot, on bizsell.com or something like that for the existing franchise, where I think I actually went through Tim Valencia.
Yes, legend. Tim Valencia, the legend.
Who put me
Yes.
in contact with Marissa, had a meeting and everything, and I thought this was fantastic. I think opposite to what Kelli was looking for. I think this is why we were perfect at the time. I was blessed that I had the finances, but not the time. So when we got together at Starbucks, it was perfect. She has well, you'll see in the podcast, she has an amazing personality, and her heart is wonderful for this business, but sometimes it wears all the emotion she puts into what she's trying to do. So she was perfect. I said, Oh, and I used to have my own direct sales organization, so I knew what would make a great salesperson. And it's
Yeah.
not talking, it's not a spiel. The product has a lot to do with it, but people buy people, and people ultimately can see your heart. And when after talking
I
to
wear it out
Kelli,
here.
exactly, exactly. And after talking to Kelli and seeing her passion for helping seniors, I said she's perfect for this.
That is an interesting topic because I was just talking to Gwen Smith, who's just north of you guys in
Mhm.
Charlotte. And we were just talking about this, and I was asking her about, is this a sales heavy role? Like when you start this business, is it sales? And I had somebody ask me that just yesterday, somebody who's looking at this business, and corporate America, and she's in Texas. And she said, I've never sold a thing in my life, but she's very, Kelli, very much like you, like very, very personable. She cares a lot about seniors, and she had a personal connection where she had to take care of her mom and dad. And it was really a difficult situation that she went through. And she wants to be able to provide a much better solution. She's like, but I've never done sales. Am I going to be okay? And I love what you just kind of talked about, Cesar, which is, yeah, you do have to put yourself out there. But I even think that sometimes people that have a lot of sales, like I shouldn't say car sales, but kind of like you've been drilled how to sell, that sometimes can even work against you in our
Hmm.
industry. Because I don't know that our referral sources and our clients are looking to be sold.
No,
But what are they looking for?
they're looking for protection and trust and rapport is what I see in our market here. Like they're such a vulnerable community and they're being sold everything. Telemarketers are calling them 24 hours a day. Their phones never stop. So I feel like they're looking for a sense of safety when it comes to them. Because if they're calling us, they're in the need of help in some form or fashion. And that literally can just be maybe even needing a friend or a companion. It's not always super health related, but in the same token, like I think that they're looking to form safe connections.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Kelli talk to people that there were no way that we're going to take out services. No way. They couldn't afford it. There was no way. Still go out of her way to spend a ton of time trying to get them connected, trying to get them help.
That's an interesting thing. I don't know that I've talked a lot about that lately. This idea that a lot of your appointments, and it's funny because people may listen to this and be like, I'm not doing this. A lot of the appointments you go on, you may leave without ever being able to take any money from that client.
Mhm.
That there's no way that they're going to be able to pay you. And yet, sometimes those are your longest appointments
Mhm.
that you're really trying to figure out what is
Right,
best
Kelli?
for them.
Yep. 4 hours, 6 hours. We went grocery shopping. I prepped a meal before I left. Whatever I needed to do.
But is there a business reason to do that?
Well, that's in my nature. I don't know if that's for everybody. I genuinely love helping people and I love the connection. And almost every home that I step into, it feels like some distant relative of my own, or if it was one of my relatives and somebody was in the field taking care of my relative. Like, I just think that that's our whole purpose here. We're always supposed to be leading and living for our seniors. Like, I don't know what else I would be doing if I wasn't doing this.
I like to say you're blessed when you're a blessing.
Yeah, in a spiritual way and in a business way too.
Mhm.
You will be
Mhm.
blessed when you are a blessing. And as hard as this business is, I think that is a lot of the payback, that you're in a business that you can make great money by helping. Every dollar we make is helping somebody. Every dollar we make is connected to that, and it is when you are blessing. Now, I wanted to ask both of you. It is a mentally and emotionally very connecting type of work. For some people, it can be draining. I think for a lot of people, it can be draining. And we talk about what fills your bucket. For some people, there's events in our lives that fill our buckets, and there's events in our lives for other people that drain our bucket, right? Our emotional bucket. So if somebody was looking to get into this, what would you say that person should expect? The things that how do you stay emotionally connected to this, and what type of person you need to be for this business to be the right fit for you?
So speaking for me, I haven't figured out how to not be emotionally connected to it. I need to be less emotionally connected to it. But honestly, I think that if you take that away, you lose sight of what you're doing, because what we're doing, it is emotional. We can't change our clients' financial situations, and we desperately want to help them in any form or fashion that we can. So you can literally take that home with you every day. Maybe not feeling like you're doing enough, or maybe you've done too much and you feel unappreciated.
Mm.
Like I can't count the endless hours that I spend on helping families that aren't even on service with us, right? Like
Yeah.
we're technically a resource for our partners and for our senior community. So it's not always about, just helping the people that are only going to come on service with you. Like we're helping a community as a whole. So it is emotionally draining a lot of the time. But I feel like the mentality, planting those seeds, that entrepreneur mentality of continuing to plant those seeds, it will come back around. Like I met with a family a few weeks ago. Well, actually, it was probably a month ago. But I met with the family. They didn't come on service with me, but their neighbor called because
Oh, wow. No
the family
way.
and they're on service with us. So the family
Yeah.
that I met with, they weren't ready to start services, but they were so relieved with all the information. They shared all the information with their neighbor, and their neighbor wound up coming on service. So it might not always work out when you meet your first family, or even with your partnerships. They can take forever too. It's like you don't walk in somewhere and they're like, "Oh, here's the patient for you." Like you have to build that trust, and they have to keep seeing you, and you have to keep reminding them, what you do, what we can do, and that we can be a resource. I don't need you to know all the things that we do. Just remember that I'm your resource.
Yeah.
I don't think you can be successful in this if you don't have a purpose and a mission and are in love with what you're doing. You can, well, everybody, you can be successful, but you'll burn out
You know,
if
exactly.
it's all about the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
And
the mission, the purpose has to be much, much greater than the money. The mission, the purpose has to be about helping and about caring for these seniors, or else you can achieve success, but you'll be burnt out.
Yeah, and I love what you talked about. Both of you talked about the resources and helping people. And we talk about a differentiation strategy, which is somebody is looking for care. There's two things you can do. Somebody calls and says, "My mom needs care," and you go and you say, "Well, I charge this much, and we could start right now." Or it can be, "Let me really understand what it is that your mom needs."
Mhm.
And I've always found throughout the country that those two very different responses sort of define what makes us different from other companies out there. But I wanted to hear from you guys. Do you this idea of being a resource as opposed to just quoting a rate, is that really true? I mean, do other companies not provide the type of resource? Do you find that they do? What makes us different?
I'll just tell you right now, the perfect example I think was yesterday. She comes back from an assessment. She's the second agency that went to see these people. These people were quote unquote blown away by the information about the resources that Kelli was able to provide to them. Basically, and I hear it all the time. I never knew about this. The other people didn't tell me
Yeah.
about this.
Mhm.
Nobody informed me about this. Oh my gosh, this is all new. Great. Nowadays, products are product. You can sell a product, they're all the same. The products are basically the same.
Yes.
Information and
Yeah.
helping them and guiding them. That's where it's
Do you
at.
do you find that, Kelli, that a lot of times when you go into these appointments and you meet with the family and they've met with other home care companies that are loving, other companies that are, that probably do a good job,
Mhm.
but do they just not share the information that you're sharing?
So I think everybody in this industry has resources. I
Hmm.
don't think that they're all quite set up like Amada is. Like we really are a one-stop shop for our seniors. Like pretty much anything that they could need, we are partnered with in some form or fashion. So I think that sets us aside from most of the other private duty agencies in our area. I think the bottom line is the connection that we make in the house. I don't just go in and start talking rates and talking about the same thing that the other agency talked about. We talk about them. What were their life experiences? What brought them to this stage of life? Like what event occurred for them to say, "Hey, we really need some help here." That's kind of how I start every conversation with our family. I want to know what got you to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm interested in home care." Like what got us here? And then I try to figure out what's the best care plan that I can put in place for this family to give them some ease, to make them feel safe, to get them back on their feet to independence. That's how I operate. So I don't know what these other agencies are doing. I mean, ultimately it does boil down to what does this cost, because traditional
Sure. Yeah.
insurances don't cover private duty. So
Right.
the bottom line, no matter what any one of us is saying, they're going to want to know, how do I afford this? I need this help, and how do I afford it? And that's my job. How do I make this affordable for this family, put the right fit care team together for them? And then what resources are available to them? Are they veterans? Do they have long-term care insurance? Do they have equity in their homes? Like where can we pull these resources from if finances are a struggle?
And that's such a big part of our business. I think when folks are looking at this business in the beginning, they haven't made the connection between it is caregiving, it is seniors, and then the final connection that I think people make is wait, and it's going to be potentially $25,000 a month, and not $1,000 or $500, and it's not an hour a week with mom. It's not 2 hours a week with mom. And so, and I think our families are coming to grips with that. But we as entrepreneurs, as folks look at this business, they start to go, wow, okay, I'm working on a transaction that is not only life-saving, a major purchase, and that is going to be a big financial commitment to any family that I meet with. And I think when you start realizing that, that's when all the pieces start coming together. I mean, this is going to be a major financial, potentially a major financial initiative that the family's going to have to go through. And so you have to lead with heart, right? You cannot lead with your pocket.
Definitely not.
That is so true. Now, I wanted to find out from you guys, what is it kind of like in a marriage? What is the secret to your partnership success?
We don't quit the same day at the beginning. At the beginning.
Yes. Except for today. Today was close.
I thought it was your day.
To quit?
Honestly, I think because our roles are truly so different, and he has so many strengths that I don't have, and I think vice versa, I probably quit more than he does. But ultimately, he's the backbone, and he keeps the train running.
And I mean, in all due respect, her forte is people. People. My background, my forte has always been business. I've built businesses from zero, so I know it's going to take some time, some disappointment. USM is going to take this much money. It's actually this much money.
It always does, doesn't it?
It's
Yeah.
going to take not that much time,
Yeah.
But that's always. But it works out if you keep on plowing away. It works out, especially if you have a talented team. I don't think even when I was in sales, I haven't run across anybody that more suited with their talents for, and I'm going to call it sales, for this kind of business than Kelli.
I think we have good communication. I think that's really important too.
And what I do, my job, I consider is I block while she tries to score.
Tackles. Yeah.
She tries to score.
That's
I get
really
all the all that stuff out of the way so she can just.
So she can focus. There's a book called Good to Great that I read
Love
a long
it.
time
Collins?
ago. Yeah, Collins. And they talk about that. They talk about that there's somebody usually in these organizations that figure their way through. There's somebody who's there to block. Somebody who's there to make sure that the other folks are able to focus in their lane and able to keep running even in tough days. And that was a big part of what I got from that book is those roles are so important, right?
One of my favorite quotes is I think it's Harry Truman. He says, "It's amazing what you can get accomplished when nobody cares who takes the credit."
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I've seen that from you two, and it's really a beautiful relationship. I think it's important to partnerships, marriages, anything that is so difficult and challenging like a business. There's some seasoning that happens in this business, and I think it's sort of this idea that the first 2 years are insanity, followed by some more insanity. But talk about that. Talk about, and I always try to. I was talking about this in a previous podcast. Like, you can't explain to somebody that's getting married what marriage is going to be like. You can't explain to them what raising kids is going to be like until you. And I imagine I've always felt this so in a big way, that describing what our veterans experience when they go to war, right? They can come back and explain it to you, but you have no way of showing enough empathy or showing enough understanding. So we're going to try to do that here. When you get through that first year, that second year, just describe what that progression has been like.
Our first year it's like almost like if me and Kelli were to get together and say, what is the worst year we can open up a business? You know what? Let's do an in-home care business at the start of a pandemic when nobody's allowed to go to anybody's home.
How about that? How about we do that?
Let's do that.
Yeah. Let's pick the worst year in the history of the world
of in-home anything.
I didn't
Yeah,
think
you
I
really
was gonna
did,
make
didn't
it.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
nuts. That was
No,
nuts.
Yeah.
nuts
So
is
see
not even
those
the word.
yeah, not there's no way to describe it, right? It's
No.
like and no one could ever really appreciate what it's like. It's like God gives you. I think it's interesting is we get these moments that no one will ever be able to know what we felt. No one will
Mhm.
ever be able to, and those are special because they're so unique.
I tell you what, you're 100% right because I look at it now. Back then, this is something that we struggled through, Kelly and I, and there was times we didn't know what was going to happen. It took us over 9 months to get our license because
Yeah,
of all this.
because of all
Okay,
this. Yeah,
but now
nine
we look
months.
back on it. I mean, it's we laugh about it
Mm-hmm.
after we cry a little bit, but
I'm
we
like,
laugh.
if we can make it through that, we can literally make it through
We
anything.
can make
Exactly,
it through anything.
exactly.
Those first 2 years, even really truthfully, just the first year, like getting it off the ground. If anybody thinks that they're coming into this business and it's all going to fall into place, they're mistaken because it is going to come with lots of trial and error. But with that comes growth, and it's really cool to see those stepping stones. And sometimes it really truly is 2 steps forward and 10 steps backwards. But as long as you keep going forward, you're
Yeah.
gonna get there. I learned a lot about myself and those, and definitely in our first 2 years, I had to learn all kinds of new marketing strategies that I'd never even been trained on. Like I literally just had to throw myself to the wolves and say, okay, let's see if this works. And if it didn't work, I
Yeah.
was moving on to something else.
I
Yeah.
remember them exposing long-term care insurance, and she's saying, "I'm never going to do that. That's crazy. They
Never
want me to do
doing it.
that." Now she's a freaking expert at this, okay?
No way,
And
really?
she
Oh,
loves doing it.
it's my most favorite thing.
But you know,
What?
but
But
that was
explain
at the
what do you mean
beginning.
by that? What is the most favorite thing?
I literally love sitting with a family and doing a policy review and
Oh
showing them
yeah, yeah,
how smart of an investment they made and how we can make this work to their benefit and in their time of need. Like I love it. I love it so much. And now that we're finally contracted with the VA, I'm in love with that too and I'm ready.
yes, that's right.
So I just think it's amazing like what Amada has done as a whole, like to help truly help us all be successful and have these, these partnerships that some of these other agencies don't even know where to start. We have a really cool thing here.
That is really cool. I love the honesty in all this because I always want entrepreneurs to have at least some inkling of what they're in for. And I love that you're mixing it with the blessings that come with that struggle. So where do you see yourselves now in another 5 years? What's the
Well,
plan?
the plan is, as you know, scouting for another territory. Scouting for another territory. We want to, I think, definitely beef up our staff so we can do a lot more marketing and spread into more areas.
I think if
So,
if this podcast was going to be shared with anybody, especially anybody wanting to come in as a franchise owner, I think some key things to take away is in your territory, knowing what resources you're going to be able to offer to your families, building a killer team. Let that be your first focus, truthfully. Before you go out there and you start worrying about all
mm,
your referral sources, know who your team is and what role they're going to be in, because that is so, so, so important to keep the train moving, because one person truly cannot do it all effectively. Can you do it all? Yes, but
yeah.
effectively, no. So I just think anybody looking at coming into this business, it is not a one-man show. It really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
To do it well and to really, and I think everybody is good at something. We're not good at everything. There's just so many things that like I just wouldn't be good at that Cesar is incredible at, or so many things that I'm not good at that Melanie, our care coordinator, is phenomenal at, and our recruiter, Callie. So, and then we just brought Tanisha on, and she's in the field as our community relations liaison, and she is killing it out there. She's just loving on all the facilities and all of her referral sources, and she's just amazing. So, I think your team is super important and pouring into your caregivers because ultimately they are what drive this business. Right fit clients and right fit caregivers.
If I can temper that with just this is the business side of it. Watch your expenses. What we've seen some of franchises in other businesses I've seen that they want to go in there with the decked out offices and sign.
Yeah.
Watch your expenses. Make every dollar count. My father used to say, if you look after your pennies, the dollars take care of themselves.
Oh, I like that.
Look after
I still
expenses.
don't get it.
Huh? As she's sitting inside her humongous.
Oh, no.
It is not humongous.
But you know
But
what I'm
it is
saying?
true, huh?
It is a balance between getting all those components together and not running out of capital.
And not running out of capital. I think that because one thing that happens is you become a different person when that capital is drained. Your decision making, your IQ goes down. Well, for some people,
You become
sometimes they
desperate.
need, you become desperate. Yeah. And
Mhm.
sometimes people out of desperation can do incredible things, but I think it's a destabilizing place to be. So yes, watching your money and having a business plan and executing on it and knowing the business. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And Kelli, the team is so critical, right? And I think what I found too is over the years that sometimes it takes a little trial and error building that team. That
Well, we've
and you
never had anything like that happen.
No, smooth
right?
sailing.
Like you
First,
you
they get in,
may
they stay.
you may not find the right person right away, right?
Definitely
It
not.
can take some time. It can take
Mhm.
some time to find that, and you got to kind of be willing to take a chance sometimes, and then cut bait and start over. And we've seen that a lot, and I think that's with any business, right? You just
Yeah.
Mhm.
sometimes it's the right fit, and sometimes it's not.
Revolving and evolving, that's what I call it.
I like that, revolving and evolving. Yeah,
And sometimes they're
yeah.
super talented, but they don't have the same vision or the same heart that you do, and they have to be cut out too.
Yeah. And, and I've also seen that there's a lot of compassion in that. In our franchise disclosure document, we show what people have done, right? In their first year, in their second year, in their third year, in their fourth year. And I think the lowest I think the lowest revenues in a year that we report there's like $30,000. Somebody started a business and in their first year of business, they only did $30,000. And I remember the difference between going, well, that was a loser. There was a loser out there who only did 30 grand. But I think in a business, what you start realizing is that life happens, right? When you start a business, you have great intentions of running something, and life can happen. I don't see that. Same thing with like you hire somebody, you had great intentions, and then something happened with that person. Life happened with that person. And having empathy for them, having empathy for it just didn't work out, right? And I think when you start any business, the fact that in your first year you're able to do any revenues whatsoever, and if you're able to stick it out and continue to build, what can build after that. So, and I know for you guys, it's been an amazing journey to be where you're at today. A lot of trial and error, a lot of pain and suffering, and you're
Gray hair.
seeing some of
But
the
a lot of
fruits,
reward.
All kinds of gray hair.
all kinds of gray
I
hair.
had jet black hair 5 years ago.
Jet black. What about the beard? Was it always white?
No, it was nice and bushy and dark black. No,
Lies, all lies.
I asked my wife if I should start dyeing my
Color it in?
beard,
No way.
and she said, "No way. That would be creepy and weird."
No.
So I'm not gonna
but
do
it's
it.
like you said. It's been a journey. Been very rewarding.
Well, listen, I want to thank you guys for joining me for this show. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend time with the folks who are looking at Amada Senior Care. I always think that these episodes, they're so like just us having a conversation. But I know that for somebody who's thinking about quitting their job, thinking about investing the money, that this hits them like a ton of bricks, right? This is such a big decision for anybody. So thank you for your honesty. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank
Good talking to you.
Marcos.
Hey, thank you for joining us for this episode. To learn more about Amada, you know where to find us. Thank you, everybody.